Hi, this is Tim Hunter with Boston Founder Magazine. I want to talk to you today about a gentleman by the name of Charles Darrow. Charles Darrow was a young salesman that was actually doing pretty good for himself in 1929 in America. Now, Charles Darrow, being the family oriented guy that he was groomed to be, proposed to his girlfriend and wanted to live that happily ever after life that everyone strived for, but the picket fence. So he proposed to his girlfriend. At the time when he proposed to her, not only did he tell how much of a happy household they would have, he also promised that he would be a millionaire. Okay. Now, in 1929, unfortunately, in America, the great crash of Wall Street happened, and America experienced the biggest depression it ever experienced in the history of America. So everyone's out of work. Everyone's losing property. There's hardly no money anywhere to go around. As a matter of fact, the only thing that was popular at that time was soup kitchens. That's how bad it had gotten. For Charles Darrow, even though he had lost all of his opportunities in sales, still wanted to provide for his family. So he would go out on a day-to-day basis and basically do anything he can to come home with a dollar. So he would walk the neighbors' dogs throughout the neighborhood, or he would mow the grass, or any odd job that was possible, like many others, I'm sure. But every time he came home, to prevent depression, his wife would basically talk to him about his day and encourage him and make sure that he stayed enthused about the future. Now, during this time, she will often remind him that, hey, look, you said you were going to be a millionaire. you know. So what she would do in her savvy way, she would basically encourage him to talk about what he's going to do when he got that $1 million. Okay. So he would really close his eyes and he would just imagine himself. He would say, I'm going to buy property. That's the first thing I want to do is buy real estate, because that way my family would never have to suffer again financially. He also talked about how he would do other investments, such as like buying into the utility companies and make small investments here and there to make sure that he expanded his portfolio, which was smart thinking. His wife enthusiastically encouraged him to write that down, because when you get that money, hey, you can look at these notes. Now, keep in mind that depression went on for about 4 years. So at this time, there was the same things for Charles Darrow. He would go out and try to hustle up on some dollars to come home and feed his family. And his wife, of course, will reignite that fire in him to remind him that he's going to be successful. Now, as time went on, as they would play their game, she encouraged him to act as if he was making a real transaction. So they decided, let's just make some paper money and act as if it was real. And you make the transactions. Okay, so she was act as the banker, he would act as the customer making the purchases. So this went on. He would add little tits and bits to the game, whatever, and it just became fun to them. So much fun that they would actually invite their neighbors over to play the game, and the neighbors would be just as enthused about the game, and they would ask, hey, can you make us a game for our family so that we can have this kind of fun whenever we want? And of course, he did it with no problem at all. They would pay him for it. So this game was so popular in his neighborhood that he decided he wanted to approach Parker Brothers. Now, this is a very interesting time in life. You're talking about the early 1930s. There's no television. Television was recently invented, but it wasn't in every household yet. The only form of entertainment for most households was a radio. So when you have something like, anything else of fun that would get your attention, it went a long way. So he approaches Parker Brothers and he presented the games to them. Even though it was fun or what have you, they didn't see that light. They didn't see his vision. Matter of fact, they pointed out over 52 errors in that game alone. Charles Darrow was saddened by that meeting, to a point in which his sadness turned into a bit of a intelligent rage. Because keep in mind, this is a salesman, so he's not going to take no. He's not going to sit down with that rejection. Charles Darrow went and asked all of his friends and family to contribute to him so that he can create his own board game and offer it himself directly to the public. This game became so popular as he was selling them more and more, it became the talk of the town. A year later, the game was so popular that Parker Brothers came back to him. Not only did they come back to pretty much talk to him about his game, they had $1 million check for him. He made the deal, he became a millionaire. The game Monopoly went on to become the #1 board game in the world, from a guy who was a salesman with an enthusiastic wife who reminded him that he made a promise of becoming a millionaire. So for more stories like this, and you can either subscribe to the video and I'll definitely bring more, or you can go to bostonfounder.com. I prefer you do both, okay? Look forward to the next story.